How would you like to be working alone in your office late at night, like we often do? Perhaps you have a deadline and the boss is breathing down your neck for some outcomes. Or just imagine working late and realizing that something creepy was in the office with you and was going to turn your job into a nightmare. That's what happened to the woman in the next video. The CCTV footage was posted on the Facebook page of a paranormal team from Malaysia named Wujud. It begins with a chair starting to move on its own behind the woman. She probably senses that something is not quite right as she removes her headphones. Imagine her getting that creeping feeling up her spine that someone or something is in the room with her. Her breathing increases and her heart begins to race. Then her hair stands up on end as her muscles tighten and she gets goosebumps. As the adrenaline enters her bloodstream, her pupils dilate. Is the fear real, or is she just overreacting? Then a heavy glass water bottle is suddenly flung off the table and onto the floor, thrown by an unseen hand. The office worker is visibly shocked and covers her ears from the loud noise, staring in disbelief and astonishment at the bottle now rolling on the carpet. Is the fear real, or could there be some plausible explanation? Deciding to ignore the activity, the woman picks up the bottle and returns to her work at the computer. But then in a final act, the chair that she is sitting on is violently yanked backwards. Sounds hard to believe, but take a look. Could this be a poltergeist escalating its activity, moving on to bigger things in an attempt to grab the worker's attention? Whatever the explanation, something has wielded a lot of force to move that chair in that way. Finally giving in to the escape part of the flight or fight response. The woman quickly switches off her terminal, grabs her bag and leaves, probably for the best. What do you think of this footage? Hushabye baby. It's one thing for an adult to experience paranormal activity, but when the ghost decides to begin terrorizing an innocent baby, it's then that the experience becomes truly chilling. In 2022, Ashley Scott lived in Elizabethton, Tennessee, with her partner Chris Geisler and their 1-year-old baby boy Gavin. Ashley had experienced several mysterious events throughout her life. When she was a young girl, she shared a bedroom with her sister. One night, Ashley awoke to see a little boy standing beside her sister's bed. She admits that at the time she was scared, but later came to believe that the ghost boy was harmless. Ashley didn't experience any more otherworldly occurrences during her life until she moved into the apartment in Elizabethton. Over the 3 years of living in the apartment together, the couple have experienced too many odd things that they couldn't explain, but they just dealt with them because they were never any physical threat to anyone. The odd things included strange noises and the inexplicable movement of objects around the home. These are all typical poltergeist behavior. Not long before Ashley became pregnant, she and Chris heard the unmistakable sound of pots and pans crashing together. It was coming from the other side of the apartment, but when the couple went to look, nothing had been disturbed. Ashley, who was always unfazed by the idea that there was something else there, and always kind of accepted it, has now become fearful of what the entity will do next. She said, "I'm a stay-at-home mum and I'm always around Gavin, so he's always protected as much as I can protect him. But it scares me because you don't know what any other force might be able to do." It was while she was out grocery shopping on the 1st of October 2022 when Chris sent her a video that really freaked her out. The bizarre footage was caught on a household security camera and shows Chris sitting in the bedroom watching TV. 1-year-old Gavin begins to crawl into the room through the open door. Gavin is on all fours when he suddenly stops and stares in amazement at his father before he is violently jolted forward as though he has been pushed from behind. The baby, who almost falls flat on his face from the force of the movement, actually turns around to look at whatever it was that pushed him, although he can see that nothing is there. Take a look at this. Traditionally, poltergeists are described as troublesome spirits who haunt a particular person rather than a location. Could this spirit be the ghost of the little boy that Ashley saw when she was younger? Maybe he has followed her and now decided to harass and torment her by pushing Gavin because he is jealous of the baby. What do you think? The Lost Child. Midge Coon was driving along the Hume Highway in Bardia, a suburb of Sydney in New South Wales. It was a Sunday evening, just before 8 PM, as Mitch and his mother were travelling back to the Gold Coast along the dark highway. They were shocked to see the figure of a small child standing in the middle of the left lane of the busy 4-lane road. The child appeared to be dressed in blue clothes, possibly a large jacket or coat, or perhaps a blanket, and the figure appears to be lacking any real solidity as they stepped towards the vehicle. Mitch was unable to stop safely because he had been out racing bikes and he was towing a toy trailer, a type of RV that hauls equipment like snowmobiles and quad bikes. The hauler was huge, and stopping suddenly would probably have caused an accident. But the mother and son were shocked and worried for the child's well-being, so Mitch's mum immediately rang 000 to report the shocking sighting and give their exact location. About 45 minutes later, at 8:29 PM, Mitch made another phone call to the police, this time to Macquarie Fields police station, and offered to hand over his dashcam footage. But he was relieved to hear that a child had been collected safely and was on his way home, so the footage would not be needed. Mitch then posted the video of the frightening incident on social media, happy that the child was safe. But in a strange twist, Mitch later found out that the police who had attended and commenced a search of the area never found any child. The search was called off at 3:45 AM the following morning because there had been no reports of any missing person in the area. So what do you think? The child was not reported missing, so could it have been a kidnapped child who had escaped and was recaptured by their snatcher before the police got there? Or maybe the spirit of a child who had been killed on the road and now keeps returning to the area where the trauma took place? What do you think? The Poltergeist of Millwood. In another story from Australia, Norm Hurst, the owner of Brompton IGA store in Adelaide, had already been warned by the previous owners that the supermarket was haunted, but he brushed it off as nonsense. But that didn't stop him from being shocked when he saw actual evidence of paranormal activity recorded on the store's CCTV, and it would seem that the store's ghost has a sweet tooth. Footage can be seen of a packet of fruit roll-ups seemingly being thrown from a shelf before landing in the middle of an aisle. The product in question was kept 6 meters away from where it landed, at the other end of the next lane. And it doesn't just slide off the shelf either, it looks as though it had been pushed. The unexplained incident occurred at 11:30 PM after the store had closed and no one was on the premises. The CCTV cameras are motion activated and shut down automatically after 15 minutes of no movement. Footage from one camera shows the package suddenly appearing on the floor. The other 2 cameras show the fruit roll landing there, which would suggest that the motion sensors were triggered before the roll appeared. The burglar alarm was not activated and there was no sign of a break-in. Take a look.
The CCTV picks up and records. If nothing's movement for 15 minutes, it just instantly starts. So one of the cameras just shows the packet of roll-ups arriving on the ground. The other camera is already going, and we've had 3 cameras for some reason recording pretty much all night, staggered start, and 3 just going. Why are they going when it's security alarms on, we detect movement, detect glass shatter, yet they're running all night? And then you got one camera looking down the aisle, and for some reason the roll-ups have just flung out of the bottom shelf. It's not just slid off, it's been thrown out of the pasta, yet the roll-ups are kept 12 metres away.
Ghost hunters have been drawn to the supermarket to investigate, leading to a potential link being made with the murder of a boxer who was shot to death in front of the store in 1998. Could he be the ghostly culprit? Jessica Pulverenti, co-founder of Adelaide Paranormal Detectives, claimed that the footage appeared to be genuine, and said that there didn't seem to be any human interference, staging or wires involved. She also gave Norm some advice on how to deal with unwanted spirits, such as trying to find out who the ghost might be and what they might want. This could be achieved using electronic voice phenomena. Using prayers and cleansing rituals could also help the spirit to safely move on. Other places in Adelaide that are thought to be supernatural hotspots include Carclew Youth Arts Mansion, where the spectre of a woman who was thrown from the tower to her death makes regular visits, and Adelaide Arcade, which is host to the ghost of a former caretaker. But it's Adelaide Jail that holds the #1 spot for the most haunted place in the area. It is probably so packed with souls because of the 45 executions that were held there. The face in the door. The final piece of footage in this video is an eerie clip that was taken by a top 5 viewer named Stephen, who used to be a student of Montevallo in Alabama. Stephen took the video of the face in the door and wanted us to discuss the death of a young girl named Condi, who once resided in the halls over 100 years ago. Now a co-ed institution and classed as one of America's best colleges, the university was once a female-only technical college. Established in 1896, it was known as the Alabama Girls Industry School. It was 12 years after the opening the story of 16-year-old Condi Cunningham began, in 1908. Connie and her 4th floor dorm mates were breaking the rules. However, they had done it before, and there was no real harm in them all gathering together in Condi's room to share some snacks after lights out. The girls sat cross-legged on the beds, dressed in their nightgowns, whispering and giggling, trying desperately to keep the noise down and not get caught. It's not known who came up with the idea of making some hot chocolate by using a Bunsen burner to heat it up, but someone accidentally knocked the burner over. It was the bed that caught on fire first, quickly followed by Condi's flammable nightgown, which went up like tissue paper. In a panic, Condi ran out of the bedroom and down the corridor screaming. As she ran, the motion fanned the flames, which completely engulfed her. By the time her friends had caught up with her and managed to put out the flames with a rug, Condi was badly burned all over her body. She lingered on for a couple of excruciating days before she succumbed to her injuries and died. We already know that it's not unusual for hauntings to be experienced where an emotional or traumatic event has occurred, and Condi Cunningham's footsteps were soon heard pounding up and down the halls over the 4th floor of the residence hall. Her spirit could also be heard shrieking, and there were reports of a girl screaming, "Help me." Condi's dormitory room was used for a while after the tragedy, until one day when another student who was staying there heard strange noises out in the corridor. Alarmed, she opened the door to take a peep and was horrified to see the spectre of a blazing girl running down the hall towards her. Shocked and terrified, she quickly slammed the door shut and turned around to find that her bed was actually on fire. She left college the next day and never returned. It is the door of Condi's old room that is shown in the video, and it's quite unsettling to see what happened to it after her violent death. The image of Condi's contorted face with her hair ablaze supposedly appeared in the grain of the wood. The headmistress at the time was so disturbed by the bizarre occurrence that she had the door removed and replaced, but soon after the face appeared again. The door was supposedly replaced several times, but the result was always the same. The screaming face returned. The room was eventually sealed off. The last door was removed and is kept in storage at the university archives. It is brought out and displayed every October as a way for the students to get into the Halloween spirit. Even to this day, there are still reports of Condi screaming up and down the halls and in the bathrooms at night. So that's it for this episode of Creepy, Spooky and Scary. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow, same time, for another video.